Okay, in this video I'm going to be recycling some of my old models.
Scruffy Crow.
Okay, these are Mastiffs from Warlord Games, and I picked them up ages ago for use in Frostgrave, and they turned out a little bit smaller than I thought they were going to be, but they were perfectly usable wild dogs for a while. But I'm not particularly happy with most of the paint jobs. This grey one I quite like, but they're all looking a bit chipped, and they were sort of put together in a bit of a hurry for, yeah, as I said, for Frostgrave. And I've got better options available for Frostgrave now. But what I think they will work really nice as, because of the sculpting style and the size of them, as my Hounds for my little Halfling army. So I'm going to get these guys stripped down, rebased and repainted for use in that. So the first job is going to be, I've got a file here, and I'm just going to poke the base away from underneath. I'm hoping, okay, just trying to remove these guys from the base I put them on with minimal damage. Now this one has been pinned quite deeply onto a little bit of plaster base there. Hopefully the rest of them are not quite like that. I'm not too worried about the bases, because these lip bases I buy 100 at a time and they only cost pennies, so I'm not going to try and recycle them if it's easier not to. So I did a good job of getting these guys stuck down, it seems. Try and remove as much of this sand and glue as we can. It's just PVA, so this just more or less just comes straight off. And I'm going to get the rest of these removed from their bases, just the same. Oh, and as soon as I stop recording, this one just pops straight off. And there you can see I leveled the base out with a bit of green stuff. You can see the sand, everything, so I should just be able to peel these sides away and just expose the metal base that it's on. Much easier. Now this is what I usually use. I usually use a bit of masking tape or electrician's tape over the slots. And it means that when you're trying to remove bases like this, it's a lot easier. But for some reason, this is the only one that I've done that on. Probably because the bases on these dogs kind of covered the slots anyway. But yeah, I did a very sturdy job. And this is my salsa jar full of acetone-free nail varnish remover. And this is still dirty from my demon prints that you might have seen a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going to pop these guys in there. I said remove as much of the sand and PVA as possible, because that'll just muddy up the goo. And I'll leave them in there for a day or two, and we'll see what happens. So I've lifted these guys back out of the goo, give them a bit of a brush off, my trusty toothbrush, and they have seen better days. Partly because of the rough treatment they just got me getting them onto the bases. See, this one's in the best nick, and partly because of the sort of way I'd handled them the first time. We've got a few bits of damage, so we've got legs missing there. So I don't want to bend them too much to try and fix them, because I don't want to break them even worse. I think some of it is also down to flaws in the original model. So this time around I'm going to put them on these green bases, which will match the human parts of my army. Oh, actually, or do I put them on these to match the halflings? Actually, I'm going to go with the black ones. Change my mind. So this is going to be a relatively delicate operation to get these back down onto these bases and kind of posed and try and glue some of these legs back together and try and get them nice and stable. I mean, I must have even broke a tail off last time, because this one is a replacement in green stuff already. Okay, I've got these guys all stuck down to their bases, and I've got some back feet glued back up, and hopefully that'll stay. Just trimming off a little bit of excess glue anywhere that needs a little bit of tidying up. I don't think these are particularly great models from the get-go, but I've also Picked up any mould lines I'd missed. I think I'd done a pretty good job last time, but obviously because of the sort of black paint caught in the gaps, it was even easier to see anywhere that needed a little bit of improvement. So these are all just stuck on using their integral bases. This one I had to pin through, but I think he's going to be fairly sturdy. The ones with the integral bases are going to get a little bit of filler. This is just Woodcote brown wood filler. And I'm just going to mixing this in with the tiniest amount of water just to make it a little bit easier to work with. So this is the same as I've done with a lot of my other, in fact almost every single unit in my Oathmark army. I'm just going to layer this on to hide those integral bases. They've only got thin ones, so it's fairly straightforward. So once that's dry, I'll just stick a layer of PVA and sand on there, and these guys will be ready to paint. One other thing to note actually as well is that some of them, just for the way I wanted to place them on the bases, their backs of the bases did hang out a little bit. But all I used was just a pair of old snips, snipped away any extra base, and then just filed it a little bit, just to make that nice and level. Okay, so here are the dogs with a fresh coat of Halford's Grey primer, looking pretty sweet. I think they're sat on here. This is 3D printed. I designed this myself in Tinkercad. It's pretty straightforward, just a rectangle with some 25mm cutouts. I'm going to paint these up as sort of mastiffs, this sort of style maybe, and I've done this before. This is a Warplock Halfling Hound, and this is the sort of colour scheme I'm going to go for, but obviously on a much smaller scale. So I'm starting off with some Xandri Dust, and this will be an all-over coat. Okay, so these guys are now sporting a lovely smooth matte coat of the Xandri Dust. Dead easy with the big brush over the Halford's Grey primer. Next up I'm going to give them some Agrarach Earthshade, and that will take these down. It'll put all the shadows in for me, and sort of do my low lights. And then once that's dry, I'll go back in with the Xandri Dust, and I'll show you what that looks like. There we go, that's what they look like with the wash on. And the first one's kind of drying already, and that's picked out all the details, including these ribs that I wouldn't have necessarily got myself, all the little folds, and the faces quite nicely. It's also the stage I'm at with the second one of these Warplock Hounds that I'm painting. And he might as well join us for the rest of this video, just so I've got another model ticked off my list. Okay, so my dogs are pretty much painted now. I was going to cover these in a little bit more detail, but once I started painting them on the little hobby hangout I was just on, I kind of got carried away. More or less, I think they're finished. I said these are the Xandri Dust, then with an Earthshade wash, and then layered with Xandri Dust mixed with Melith White, and then on the bottoms and chests, we've then got Xandri Dust, Melith White, and Melith White highlight all together. So yeah, basically those three colours layered up to get the base, most of the body, and then the ears and tail are currently just Rhinox hide. That one around the mouths as well, just to get that sort of mastiff look, and I'll highlight that again with a little bit of the Melith White base, I think, just have some little raised highlights on those. And then the noses are black, as with the base rims. And the bases are my normal recipe of Rhinox hide and Gunter Corpse brown. Oh, and then Melith White base again, to get a sort of earthy look. But yeah, these have been actually quite fun to paint for how simple a model they are. I think I've managed to get some of that musculature showing, which I'm quite happy with. They've actually got quite a little bit of character, more so than I was expecting them to have. So the last thing is going to be a few little dabs of glue on here. Got some static grass here. This is mixed from a few different ones, a muddy one and a spring one. I'm just going to sort of dab that on in little clumps. Tap off the excess, and then the magic bit is we take it from here We give it a little blow and it all stands on end, hopefully. And you can see the glue through at the moment, but obviously that dries clear, so it's not really such a problem. I've also got some of these self-adhesive rough grass tufts that I might put on a couple of them. Even though they're self-adhesive, I don't really trust them, so I tend to just stick them down anyway. Just a little bit of PVA underneath there. I'll paint this like I've painted their bases, and probably got a bit of grass on there as well, and then we can see what they look like as a whole unit. And here they are, all finished on their strip, ready to do battle alongside my halflings. And I think these are going to be much more useful, and I think they look much better than they did now than they were just languishing in my Frostgrave box, replaced by new sculpts. So yeah, I'm glad I did this. Definitely worthwhile. It's almost like I got minis for free. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.